I checked the doorbell footage for a missing package, then noticed the same man visiting my fiancée every week. For 8 months. Always exactly 3 hours. He had a key. When she got home, I asked one simple question. Why does your personal trainer have a key to our house? She froze. Because the man was my father. I'm not the kind of guy who snoops. I don't read texts over someone's shoulder. I don't go through bags, and I've never felt the urge to check someone's phone in the middle of the night. I just don't operate that way. But I do track my packages religiously. My name's Zach. I'm 29. Work in tech, mostly remote hand. I live with my fiancée Maya, who's 28 and works as a digital marketing manager. We've been together for years, engaged for the last one. I thought we had one of those boringly healthy relationships. You know, regular date nights, decent communication, even shared Spotify playlists. Anyway, last month I ordered a gaming monitora. Dumb splurge, sure, but it was something I'd wanted for a while. The tracking said it had been delivered that afternoon while I was out running errands, but there was no box at the door when I got back. I figured, porch pirate, it's happened before in our neighborhood, so I opened the doorbell camera app to check the footage, and that's when it started. The video loaded like normal. I skipped ahead to around 1 p.m., the time the package was marked as delivered. Nothing at first. Then, a tall man entered the frame from the left side, hood up, sunglasses, he walked straight to the door. But instead of knocking or dropping something off, he reached into his pocket, pulled out a key, and unlocked the front door. I paused the clip. That alone was weird. We don't lend out spare keys. Not to neighbors, not to friends, not to family. Maya and I are both pretty private about that kind of thing. I hit play again. The man stepped inside. No hesitation, no knocking, no package. 3 hours later, exactly 3 hours, he walked back out, hood still up, same direction. I sat back, confused, trying to place the face. I scrubbed through more of the week's footage, feeling dumb for even being suspicious. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. The same guy didn't show again. But when I went further back, there he was. Again. Last week. The week before. Same time window. In at 1 o'clock, out by 4 o'clock, and every visit happened on a Wednesday. Always alone. Always using a key. Always staying for exactly 3 hours. I counted 8 straight weeks. No missed sessions, no different faces. Just this man. This visitor. I stared at the screen for a long time. I kept trying to come up with innocent explanations. Maybe Maya had hired someone to clean, but no. We already had a monthly service, and they always came on Mondays, and she'd never mentioned anything new. A trainer, a tutor, her therapist. I clicked pause again and zoomed in on the frame. He wasn't a stranger. He looked familiar, but older. I squinted harder, then realized who he reminded me of, and that's when the thought hit me. No way. The bone structure, the jawline, even the walk almost identical, but it couldn't be. I hadn't seen him in years. Still, the resemblance crawled into my brain, and just sat there. I clicked on the clip from 4 weeks ago, this time opening it on the big screen in our living room. I froze the clearest frame, paused it just as he glanced toward the door camera. He wasn't wearing sunglasses that day, and there was no hood. I stood up. That face? That was my dad. Let me be clear about this. My dad and I aren't close. We used to be, but things went sour after he and my mom divorced when I was in college. He disappeared for a while, then popped back into my life randomly, pretending like we could pick up where we left off. I tried. For years I tried, but the man was slippery, always secretive, always working on something big, always traveling, always charming, always smiling, and never telling the full truth. Eventually, I stopped trying to make sense of him. Now he was showing up at my house and letting himself in while I was gone. While my fiancée was home, there was no world where that made sense. That night, I didn't sleep. Maya got home around 6 like usual. She kicked off her shoes, kissed me on the cheek, and went straight to the fridge for one of those oat milk lattes she's obsessed with. She didn't seem nervous, no signs of guilt, nothing strange at all. I waited until she sat on the couch and asked, casually, "Hey babe, random question. Why does your personal trainer have a key to our house?" She froze mid-sip. Not like confused frozen. Not like what are you talking about? Her lips parted slightly. She didn't blink. Her hand was still holding the bottle in the air. I've seen people lie. I've worked with enough clients to know when someone's stalling not because they're thinking, but because they're panicking. After a full 5 seconds, she finally spoke. Her voice was too light, too rehearsed. Trainer. What trainer? I didn't say anything, just stood up, walked to the TV, and cast the paused frame from the doorbell footage. She stared at it. Her mouth opened, then closed again. Then, in a voice I'll never forget, she whispered, "Zach, I can explain." She stood up slowly, like her legs were figuring out how to move again. Her eyes were locked on the screen. On his face, she looked pale. I didn't say anything. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't accuse her of anything. I just waited. Let the silence do what it does best, pull the truth out of people. She rubbed her hands together, walked over, then sat back down, but this time on the edge of the couch, like she might bolt at any second. "Zach," she started again, voice cracking. "I didn't know how to tell you. It wasn't. It's not what you think. I turned to face her. Then tell me what it is. She hesitated. I watched her do the math in her head, what to reveal, what to spin, what to hide. It started last year. We ran into each other at that wine bar downtown. He said he was in the area for a client meeting. I blinked. She avoided eye contact. Me? And your dad, David? Just hearing her say his name made my stomach drop. She went on. At first it was just small talk. He said you hadn't responded to his emails in months. That he missed you. He looked lonely. I felt bad for him. I interrupted. So you invited him over. Alone. She nodded quickly. I didn't plan it like that, Zach. I really didn't. He showed up one afternoon when you were out, said he was just passing by. He brought coffee. We just talked. I swear. It wasn't a big deal at first, and it only happened once or twice for a while. I stared at her, let her keep digging, but he kept coming. He said you'd been distant for years, that you stopped calling after he and your mom split. He made it sound like you hated him, and you never really talked about him with me, so I thought maybe, I don't know, maybe you needed help fixing things. That part hit harder than I expected, because she was right. I never did talk much about my dad, not after what he did to our family, not after he walked out on my mom and ghosted us for nearly 2 years, but what she said next. That's when the ground really shifted. It wasn't physical, Zach. Not at first. But I guess we both got comfortable. I didn't expect it to turn into anything. I didn't even realize it was happening until it was already too far. My throat tightened. She finally looked me in the eye. It wasn't love. Not like that. It was complicated. I nodded slowly, then asked the question I'd been holding back. So when did you give him a key? That was the moment she broke. Her shoulders slumped. She pressed a hand to her face like she wanted to hide behind it. 3 months ago, she whispered. Why? He said it'd be easier that way. Less sneaking around. He made it sound like it wasn't a big deal, that we were just friends, and I believed him. Or, I wanted to. The room felt smaller, the air thicker. I stood up, walked to the window, stared out at the neighbor's tree for a while. I wasn't thinking clearly, but I remember this thought hitting me like a punch. I'd introduced them. I brought her to my dad's birthday dinner 3 years ago, trying to rebuild the family, thinking maybe we could start fresh. Apparently, they'd taken me literally. I turned back to her. Has he ever done this before? With someone else's partner? Her lips pressed together, almost like she'd expected the question. I don't know. He told me once that he had a habit of chasing things that weren't his to begin with. I thought he was joking. That phrase stuck with me, like a warning I should have heard months ago. I walked over to the table, picked up my phone, and called someone I hadn't spoken to in over a year. My mom. She answered on the second ring. Zach, everything okay? Hey, quick question. Did Dad ever cheat? When you two were together, there was a long silence on the line. Then her voice came back. Soft, tired. Zach, that man never stopped cheating. He didn't just betray me, he betrayed entire families. That was when I realized this wasn't just a betrayal, it was a cycle. And now, I was part of it. After I hung up the phone, I just sat there, not angry, not confused, just still. My mom's voice echoed in my head. He betrayed entire families. I asked her what she meant. She hesitated for a second, then told me about a woman named Claire, a family friend from way back. When I was in high school, we used to go to her place for summer BBQs. I remembered her husband, Tony, and their 2 kids. Apparently, David, my dad, got involved with Claire, secretly, for months. When Tony found out, their marriage blew up. My dad didn't even deny it. He just called it a mistake, then moved on like nothing happened. I never knew why we stopped seeing them. My mom kept the truth from me for years. Zach, your father is charming because he knows how to perform loyalty. But that man has never been loyal a day in his life. She didn't even sound bitter. Just tired. I thanked her, told her I loved her, and hung up. Maya was still on the couch, hands shaking, staring at nothing. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I didn't even ask her to leave. I just told her I needed to think. Then I went for a drive. I didn't know where I was going until I got there. My dad's condo downtown. I'd been there a few times before. Modern, always immaculate like a showroom. The kind of place that doesn't look lived in. I waited in the parking garage, heart racing, until I saw him pull in with his usual smooth, arrogant swagger. He smiled when he saw me. Zach, what a surprise. Come up. I looked him dead in the eye. You've been sleeping with my fiancée. The smile twitched. Disappeared. He didn't deny it. Didn't even try. Zach, it wasn't supposed to go that far. We just talked. And then one day, something happened. And neither of us stopped it. I wasn't trying to hurt you. I laughed once. Not because it was funny. Because I didn't have any words left. You weren't trying to hurt me. You came into my home. You used a key she gave you, like you owned the place. You visited every week like it was some kind of schedule. For 8 months he held up a hand like that would calm me down. I know how it looks. No, I said. You know exactly what it is, because you've done it before. He froze. Claire, Tony, you remember them. His jaw clenched. That was years ago, right? Just like this will be. Just another. Not another wrecked family. Another son you can pretend never existed. He didn't say anything. And in that silence, I understood something I hadn't before. He wasn't sorry. Not for me. Not for Maya. Not for anyone. He was just sorry he got caught again. I turned and walked away. That night, I didn't go home. I didn't answer Maya's calls. I slept in my car at a rest stop just outside the city. Windows cracked. No music. Just the sound of passing trucks and my own thoughts chewing themselves apart. The next morning, I took the day off work. Bought a few things. 2 wireless mics, a second door camera for the hallway, and a cheap voice recorder. I knew they'd meet again. They'd have to, because that's what people like them do. They can't stop. So I waited. Let Maya think I was processing, that I might come around. I even made her breakfast that Saturday. French toast and coffee. She said thank you, almost cried. Told me she wanted to talk more. If I was ready, I said, not yet. What I didn't say was that while she was in the shower, I had installed a mic in the hallway vent, and I had set it to record out. If it picked up more than one voice at a time, all I needed was one more visit, and I didn't have to wait long. I didn't rush it. That was the hardest part. It's easy to explode, to scream, to demand answers. But when you do, when you show your hand, people go into damage control. They twist the story, turn you into the villain, and rewrite history before it can even settle. So I did the opposite. I let Maya believe. I was conflicted, numb, quiet. I started coming home early from work again, cooking dinner, asking how her day was. I smiled when she talked about her coworkers. I even left the house on Wednesdays again just like I used to. Except now, I was parked 2 blocks away, watching the doorbell cam live on my phone. And just like clockwork, he showed up again. Same time, same stride, same key. N. The moment the door shut behind him, I opened a second app on my phone, the hallway. Mic feed. The audio was fuzzy at first. Then it picked up her voice. Bye, Maya. You shouldn't have come again this soon. My dad? He doesn't know. Maya. I've known Zach his whole life. He always forgives. He's soft. She didn't respond. Right away, I heard footsteps. Then her voice, lower this time. Maya. I just feel guilty. It's like he's looking through me now. My dad. Then stop feeling guilty. What we have. It doesn't need to be shameful. Zach doesn't understand people like us. He lives too small. I hit pause. That line, he lives too small. Something about it made my skin crawl. Like my entire life, every choice I made, every honest effort I put into this relationship, was just a footnote to him. A game piece he didn't respect. That was all I needed. I planned a dinner for that weekend. Nothing extravagant, just the 3 of us. To clear the air, I told her. She hesitated, obviously nervous, but I smiled. Told her it was okay. That I wanted to talk. That I missed how things used to be. She even offered to cook, but I told her I'd take care of it. I cooked like a man hosting a funeral. Candles, wine, chicken, marsala her favorite. Even a little jazz playlist she liked. When David arrived, he acted like we were all just catching up. Big smile. Button-up shirt with the sleeves casually rolled, like nothing had happened. Like this was a normal family dinner. We sat down, talked about nonsense, work, the weather, a new movie he saw. Then I stood up and said, you know what? I forgot to turn off the hallway speaker. David blinked. Maya looked confused. I stepped over to the small Bluetooth speaker near the front door, one we'd barely ever used. Flipped the switch, opened the voice recorder app on my phone, and hit play. Their voices filled the room, not old clips. The one from 2 days ago, every word clear. He doesn't know Maya. He always forgives. Then stop feeling guilty. He lives too small. The speaker went dead silent at the end. You could hear a fork drop. Maya's face went pale. David leaned back, mouth slightly open. I walked back to the table, sat down, and looked at both of them. No yelling, no dramatic speech. Just this. You know what hurts the most? I thought both of you were the kind of people who'd protect me from betrayal, not walk me into it. Maya opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. My dad stayed quiet. I stood up, walked over to the hallway, grabbed a small black duffel bag I'd packed the night before. Inside her clothes, her laptop, her charger, her toothbrush. You'll be staying somewhere else tonight, I said. The lease is in my name, and your key doesn't work anymore. She looked stunned. David said nothing. For once, he didn't have a monologue. No smooth excuse, just empty silence. I opened the front door and waited. Maya finally stood, picked up the bag, walked past me with shaking hands. David followed, slower. But before he stepped out, I looked him dead in the eyes. You're not broken. You're just hollow, and I don't envy the echo. Then I shut the door behind them. I didn't move for a while after that, just stood there, listening to the silence that filled the house. And for the first time in 8 months, it felt like mine again. I thought the confrontation would be the end of it, but that was just the beginning. They didn't vanish quietly. The next morning, Maya tried to come back. I hadn't blocked her, yet I wanted to see what she'd say. She called 5 times, texted even more. At first it was denial. Then came the apologies, then the bargaining. We made a mistake. It wasn't serious. I was confused. I didn't know how to stop it. She said all the things you'd expect someone to say when they realized the rug they were standing on is now ash. And in one final message, she added, I still love you. Can we at least talk? I didn't reply. I'd already changed the locks. I was already getting the utilities updated in just my name. She was out, but David, my father, he didn't try to reach me at all. Instead, he went straight to my mom. I didn't find out until she called me the next night, her voice practically vibrating with rage. He showed up at my house, Zach, with a bouquet, acting like he was entitled to some kind of forgiveness. I asked her what she said. She told me she looked him right in the face and said, "You didn't lose a wife or a girlfriend. You lost the only child you had left who hadn't written you off yet. Congratulations." Then she closed the door in his face. I could have cried hearing that, but I didn't have time to get sentimental because the dominoes were still falling. That week, Maya's company launched a campaign that ironically I'd helped her network into. I had introduced her to one of the marketing leads at a startup I'd consulted for a few months earlier. It was supposed to be a major project, something that could fast-track her promotion. I didn't say anything, but the marketing lead reached out to me a few days after everything blew up. He'd heard whispers, office gossip. Someone said Maya was having complications in her personal life, that it had gotten messy. He was polite about it, but careful. I could tell he was trying to feel me out. I didn't trash her. I didn't mention names. I just said, let's just say she wasn't who she presented herself to be. He didn't need more than that. 2 days later, Maya was removed from the campaign. She sent one last text. "Did you tell them something?" I didn't respond, because I was trying to hurt her, but because I finally understood what she never did. When you lie to someone for 8 months straight, you don't get to ask for honesty back. That Friday, I got a knock at the door. I was expecting a delivery, maybe a neighbor, but it wasn't either. It was her. Not Maya, Claire, the woman from years ago, the one my dad had destroyed once before. I hadn't seen her in forever. She looked older, of course, more tired, but composed. She introduced herself, reminded me who she was, said she'd heard what happened through my mom. Then she looked me in the eyes and said, "You think this ends with you? But it won't, Zach. He doesn't stop until no one lets him back in." I asked her, "Then why show up here?" She smiled sadly. "Because I never told anyone back then, and you just did what I couldn't. You said enough. That matters." We stood in silence for a second. Then she gave me a small envelope and walked away. Inside was a photo me, maybe 17, grinning at one of those old backyard BBQs. Claire's kids standing beside me. My dad in the background, holding a drink, laughing like he hadn't already. Set everything on fire. I spent that night alone. Didn't go out. Didn't post about it. Didn't text anyone back. I just sat on the floor of the living room, the same one he used to walk through every week, the same one Maya used to lie to me from, and I took it back, piece by piece. In my head, this house, life in peace. The strange thing about betrayal is how quiet the aftermath can be. I used to imagine it would feel like an explosion, sobbing, storming out, but the worst betrayals don't happen with slammed doors. They happen in silence. In the spaces where trust used to live. It had been 2 weeks. Maya stopped texting. Eventually she sent a final message. "I'm sorry. I hope someday you'll believe that." I didn't answer, not out of cruelty, out of clarity. Some words just don't carry anymore, not after you've spent 8 months building something on the bones of someone else's trust. I found out through a mutual friend that she'd moved back in with her sister. Word was, she lost her shot at the promotion. Her team leads didn't see her the same way anymore. And honestly, I didn't feel smug about that. I felt nothing. Which, in a weird way, felt like healing. As for David, my father, I didn't hear a word from him, not directly, but news travels. Apparently, his ex-wife, not my mother, his third one, filed for separation after she got wind of everything. She found texts, bank statements, hotel bookings, same pattern, same excuses, same man. The man who once said I lived too small now had an empty condo. 2 restraining orders filed against him from previous partners, and a son who no longer returned his emails. He did try once, emailed me from an old address. The subject line was one word, talk. I clicked it, scanned it, didn't reply, didn't delete it either, just archived it. Like closing a chapter I never asked to be part of. I spent a few weekends deep cleaning the house, not because it needed it, but because I did. I took down the picture frames, replaced the furniture, got rid of the shared mugs, the throw pillows, the stupid his and hers key rack near the door. All of it, gone. Traded in for space. I kept the hallway mic installed, though not because I was suspicious, because I liked knowing I'd never need it again. It was strange, rebuilding a life you didn't plan on rebuilding, but also freeing. I started sleeping better, cooking for one, leaving the house without wondering what was happening while I was gone. It was like a tension I didn't even know I'd been carrying. Finally let go. I called my mom more. We met for lunch a few times, talked about things we never used to, like what my dad really was, and how long she'd carried that weight alone. She said something that stuck with me. We can't always protect people from who he is, but we can stop pretending he's someone he's not. Last week, I rewatched the first Doorbell clip, the one that started everything. I watched him walk up with his hood pulled low, confident, comfortable, like he belonged. Then I closed the app and deleted the footage. That was the last trace of him in my home, and now, the house is quiet, the good kind. The kind that wraps around you instead of sitting on your chest. The kind that lets you breathe. I thought I'd come out of this broken, but I didn't. I came out clear. And the next time I loved someone won't be because they made promises, it'll be because they kept them when no one was watching.